So welcome, Livtar Singh.
Thank you.
Now, you've just released an album, Mountain of Smoke.
Yes.
But it's taken quite some time to record the album, I understand.
Well, if you don't include the 27 years before we even started trying, it's been, we meant to do it in like 6 months, and it ended up taking 3 years. My mother-in-law had end-of-life issues. We had to go live with her to help her, and then she finally passed away, and in between all that was a bunch of wrangling to try to get this done. So it was interesting, the old saying, while we make plans, God laughs.
And Snatam Kaur features on the album.
Yes, Snatam Kaur, who I've known, I think I first met her when she was 10 years old. And we started playing music together at various times. We really did it officially in around 2000 somewhere when Guru Ganesha, she and I formed a band called the Peace Family Band, and we recorded 2 albums. And that was around that time I got really sick, really ill, which turned out to be gluten, by the way, for anyone who's interested. And I couldn't do anything. I was just laid out. So Snatam and Guru Ganesha went off on the next leg of the adventure with Snatam launching into her career, and Guru Ganesha backed her up for many years.
Now, to go back to your own journey, you started performing as a teenager, I understand.
Yeah, I was in rock and roll. Well, I was actually in, we used to do hootenannies, they were called, when folk music was a big thing. And the Kingston Trio was huge, and Bob Dylan and the whole folk scene were going. And me and my brothers actually had a little trio, so we would sing at events. And then later on in high school, I started rock and roll bands, and we used to play the Doors and Hendrix and all kinds of whatever was going on back then. In fact, one of my early lessons in music was Born to Be Wild was a big hit. We would play at this country club dance every Saturday night. We were the house band. People were always yelling, play Born to Be Wild, play Born to Be Wild. And so we'd play it once or twice every 45-minute set. So we had this diabolical plan where we're going to fix them. We're going to make it where they never want to hear that song again. So we played the song for 45 minutes straight. And then we took a break. Then we came back, started playing songs, and guess what they started yelling? They wanted to hear Born to Be Wild. So I learned that there's what I want, there's what other people want, and I got no idea what other people want. So I just have to do what I do and let it fall where it may.
Now, how did Yogi Bhajan come into your life?
That was all during that period. I was 18 when I met him, and what had happened is it was 1969. Hippie scene was full blast. World was split into 2 camps in my point of view. Hippies, which were all drugged out, and then the normal straight world, we called it, where you just do your normal thing, 9 to 5, and neither of those 2 appealed to me. I was having the spiritual hunger, thirst, which I later kind of figured out was born with me as in this incarnation I really already there, but just waiting for the trigger moment to hook up to my gang so I could continue my spiritual work in this incarnation. I went to the beach one day. I took a little bit of, how shall we say, chemical assistance, small amount, just for my brain to work a little different. Spent the entire day walking up and down the beach. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I supposed to do in life? What am I going to do? I don't want to be a drug tippy. I don't want to just do 9 to 5. And I come home, and as I walk in the door, the phone rings, and it's my drummer from my band. He says, "You got to come over and meet this guy." I was just sitting on my couch looking out my glass window, my picture window, and this guy with long hair and a beard walks by. I thought he was cool, so I ran out to meet him. And he's really cool. So I said, "Yeah, I'll be right over." I jumped in the car, drove over there, and met John Twombly, who had just come back from doing a couple of classes with Yogi Bhajan out in New Mexico at the Hog Farm Solstice, which was 69. And it was the precursor to the summer solstice events that 3HO, that our group started doing and does to this day. And he sat down and started telling me about yoga and how it makes you feel like you're on LSD all the time. And it was the language of our time, it was how we understood things. And I just said right there, I'm in, let's go. He was going to visit his parents for 2 weeks in Florida, in Orlando. That's where I grew up. And we said, "No, you're not leaving. We need you here to teach us." And so we started teaching, and we brought Yogi Bhajan. There is one more part to the story. When my father found out I was not going to cut my hair and I was going to be a yogi and all that, he put me into the mental ward of the hospital, which I kind of had to agree to. I was already 18, but I said, "What the heck, maybe they'll think I'm crazy and I won't get drafted or something." So I was in the mental ward of the hospital when Yogi Bhajan actually came to Orlando, and I had to break out of there to go see him. So I walked around the floor with no shoes, and then I snuck down the freight elevator in the back, and I had called my friend to come pick me up and take me to the class. So I met Yogi Bhajan at the class. I was waiting out front when he came in, and he just shook my hand very politely, and he said, "Pleased to meet you." And in that moment, I laughed, and I laughed because all of my past kind of started coming out to the surface, my incarnations, and I said, "This is ridiculous. I'm supposed to be bowing. You're my teacher. You don't just shake hands politely like you're at a cocktail party with your teacher." And I had no way to know that. I mean, I was just a Western, born-raised kid from the South. So that was it. And I mentally said to him, "Let's go." And I went and studied with him for 6 months in LA. And he sent me to Atlanta, Georgia, to start an ashram, and I've been there ever since.
So, from going to LA, did you have a daily sadhana, as in a daily spiritual practice?
Oh, yeah. In LA, in those early days, was the most amazing, awesome energy going on. We would get up. In fact, when I got into LA, I hitchhiked, took a train part of the way, and then I hitchhiked part of the way. And as I came into LA, I had no idea how big cities, because Orlando, I grew up there before Disney. It was just this nice little city, about 100,000 people. And you could get anywhere in 15 minutes. When I was coming into LA, I just didn't have a concept. The guy said, "Where do you want to get off?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but let's just pick an exit. I'll get off and I'll call and see how close I am, and then I'll figure out a way to get there." So we're driving in, just looking at exits. I said, "This exit." We go down to the bottom, there's a 7-Eleven. I get out, I call him on the phone, and I'm 2 blocks away from the ashram, which just literally can't happen. I mean, I walk up to the ashram. I get there about 11:30 at night, and they bring me in. They said, "Here's your spot," which is in the hall. Every room was completely full, and there were 2 of us guys sleeping out in the hallway. I go to sleep about 2 a.m. There's a face in my face. "Wake up! Wake up!" And I got up, and what we would do is we'd take cold showers, we do a full hour of very heavy Kundalini yoga, and then a 2.5-hour meditation, which was one continuous, one mantra, Ek Onkar Satnam Sri Vaheguru. And that I did for at least 90 days there at that ashram. And then some stuff happened, we had to move. What happened was, after about probably less than a month anyway, when I would close my eyes and start the chanting, the meditation, this blue light, kind of a blue orb, about the size of a big pearl, would appear up in my third eye. Had my eyes rolled up and I'm looking, and this thing would appear, and it was blue lit from the inside out, and it looked like it was hanging in space. And if I moved my eyes to the right, as if I was looking to the right, it would stay in the middle. And if I looked to the left, it would stay in the middle. It was a stationary object. To my perception, it looked like as if you were looking at something hanging on a string about 5 feet away from you. And then I would just stare at this thing, and I would do my whole meditation staring at this blue thing, which later I heard it called the blue pearl or something. I couldn't find out anybody that knew what it was. But then we would do 2 classes a day with Yogi Bhajan, and then we do yoga in between for fun. And we were just, you could almost see the energy coming off our fingertips. We were so energized, so energetic. I could make my Kundalini go up at will. That was the time just to get our base and to understand what the heck we had here. And then we went out into the real world and started having families and jobs and running ashrams, and didn't have so much of that anymore. But that was just an awesome, amazing time.
Now, we've got 9 tracks to choose from the album Mountain of Smoke. Where would you like to begin?
I'd like to start with Beyond the Far Horizon. It's a little different from the other songs, and it's actually the most challenging conceptually, because it's about how our ego makes us think we are in charge of the next moment. We have something to do with what's happening. And if you look at the big picture, we're on a planet that's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting the sun at 10,000 miles an hour. And then the solar system is orbiting the center of the galaxy at something like 700,000 miles an hour. And if you add them all up, they get near 1 million miles an hour. And that's why that comes in the song. And the point is, okay, if you're going to stop what's going to happen next, then you have to position yourself in space in front of the Earth and put up your hand, and then you're going to stop this thing going 1 million miles an hour, and it's just not going to happen. In this space and time that we create by movement, because if you don't move, you're just a photograph. Nothing moves. But we always try to grab onto moments or times. Our ego tries to grab things and stop the movement of time and stop that flow. But if you did that, you'd have nothing. You'd just be frozen. So it's trying to get that concept through, and that at the same time, we're just a point of consciousness looking at this movie of movement, and we never move. So it's those two dichotomy. It's that dichotomy, and it's a meditation, and it's kind of a challenge to the ego.
Beyond the far horizon, where I cannot see all my past and future destiny. I awoke upon a starship call it Mother Earth. 1,000,000 miles an hour we traverse this universe, falling, ever falling through space to create time, rising, ever rising from the rib cage to the realm of I am, I am. I fall through my resistance, every inch I find. I fall through my existence into light. You think you can control life, you can affect the end. 1,000,000 miles an hour, good luck with that, my friend. There's a reason the world is round, new horizons around every bend, so we can know no matter how far we go, we can never reach the end. There is no end. I will fall through thunder, lightning and rain. 1,000,000 miles an hour, I fall not afraid. I will fall through dreaming, I will fall through time. Everything outside me is alive. Falling, ever falling through space to create time, rising, ever rising from the rib cage to the realm of I am, I am. Over my resistance, I am carried through to the end of separation to you. You are my horizon, all that I can see. Lover waits for the beloved faithfully. Lover waits for the beloved endlessly.
Now, I read that you're not a great fan of recording studios, but I think it was the people around you that have persuaded you over the years to finally record this album.
Yes. I just never liked it. I don't know why. But finally, I had these songs and I would play them for people who were at our all-night, we have these all-night music things at our summer solstice and winter solstice events called Ransabai Kirtan, where you just play continuous music, and they would hear the songs there, and they go, we want to hear this, we want to record it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe. And finally, they just took over and started the fundraising, and Mahan Kalpa, and I want to just mention Mahan Kalpa, also known as Paul Mahern, who was really like after me. He said, I love your music. I'd really like to record it. And he's a punk rocker. If you Google Paul Mahern, he's the lead singer of the Zero Boys, who are a very well-known punk group. But he's also a Kundalini yogi, and he's just a super yogi, and he's very super smart and amazing in music. And when I started working with him, I just did a test run with him, and I loved working with him, and he just made it relaxed and nice, and he's just super good at what he does. So all these things conspired and got me in the studio, and the main person we worked with, I also want to mention, was Heidi Gluck. She was our main studio musician, multi-instrumentalist, fantastic, genius, incredible feel for the music. So with these two people in the studio, I actually really enjoyed it this time, and it just changed my whole outlook on it. So that's kind of how they got me into the studio and got this to happen. Because the last album I did of my music was like 1982. I had recorded with other people, and for me to be the one who instigated it and organized it and all that, I just didn't have and plus I was sick all that time. I was sick for 20 years. So we just finally got it done.
Wonderful. Now, what would be another track you'd like to feature?
My favorite track on there is I Bow, because every time we do yoga or we meditate, we tune in and we use this mantra, Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And Om is the creative energy of the universe. And what that means is before God created anything, when it was just the one alone and there was no creation, there was nothing, the very first thing created was creative energy. So the creative energy could then create stuff, create the universe, create the illusory world. And that's Om, O-N-G, Om. It's very close to Om. Om, the O-M, is the creator before there was any creation. It's the creator not in creation. Om is the creator as creative energy, and Namo means I bow. And Gurudev is the inner teacher, that the inner guru. The Dev is the pass-through, the invisible guru, the guru that's there that is unseen. And Namo, in this one little mantra, which we just use it to tune in, but if you could make it your entire life work, because if you bow to the creator within and the inner teacher, and you actually get out of the way and let that through, that's everything. You're done. You don't need anything else. And so that song is the kind of longing way that I came to ask for that it was given to me.
Where, my love, have you hidden from me? If I bow my head, will you let me see I dreamed I heard the sound of your breath, your sweet words. This journey of mine is a long winding way. I wish to lay my head at your feet in the cool, cool shade. In the time between the beats of the heart, you are there and you are there in the space between the stars. I close my eyes so I may see through 1,000 petals. You are known in me. This journey of mine is a long winding way. I wish to lay my head at your feet in the cool, cool shade.
Now, from your initial 90 days at the ashram, you ended up managing the ashram.
No, I was in one ashram in LA for 90 days, and then I had to move. It was a long story, but I was there for 6 months. And then at the end of the 6 months in June of 1970, Yogi said, you'd have to go to Atlanta and start an ashram, because he didn't collect students. He made teachers, and he would have people train just a little and sometimes like one day. And then he would send them out because he was interested in getting the yoga and the technology out to people. So he sent people out everywhere, all over the world, and we'd start ashrams. And back then, again, the late 60s, early 70s, people were really out there looking, and so they would move in, and we'd have ashrams with 60, 80, 100 people. But I went to Atlanta to start an ashram, and so a series of serendipitous events led up to me and a few people getting a house and starting an ashram. And the interesting thing was I was 18, or wait, I just turned 19. So I just turned 19 when I got to Atlanta, and we had people living there into their upper 20s. They would start doing father phobias on me, acting out their things with their authority figures. And I'm like, I'm just this 19-year-old kid. What are you doing? And then I didn't understand the dynamic of the authority figure. And it doesn't matter who the authority figure is. It doesn't matter how old the authority figure is. That's who gets the dynamic acted out upon them. So that was really interesting. And we went through many versions over the years to grow and smaller, and we opened a health food store as a group and had many fun adventures, but they all added up to me finally getting my revelation, my enlightenment moment. I don't even know what to call it, but it was the years of work and hassle and service and just all of the grind, because our system we use is we don't run away to a cave in the Himalayas. We live right in the middle of the world. You get grinded down, and out of that comes the light. And the song Into the Radiance was my experience when I finally achieved, I don't know, enlightenment, whatever you call it. I was driving in my car, and I saw the entire reality, the Maya and the one and everyone. I was struck dumb. First thing that happens, all of the mental negative talk, which you don't even know is there, disappeared in an instant. It was utter, total silence and peace. That's why the first line of the song is, into the silence I fell, in the infinite sea of love I dwell. And I became in the moment the one. I could not speak, and not because I couldn't think of anything to say, because I understood and knew and became at that moment that there is no other. This is all a big fake. It's a big game. Me talking to you, this is all part of this play. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, I can't even speak to anyone because they aren't there. There isn't really another to talk to. And so I just meditated on it. And it was really that I had a teacher, Yogi Bhajan, and I said, what did my teacher do? And he had this realization. He taught, he just kept talking, and you keep acting like normal, and you keep acting like you think it's real. And that's why the illusion, the Maya world was put here, so that there could be interplay, because God was just God, and the one thing God couldn't do is create another God to hang out with, so it created the creation, so it could hang out with itself with the illusion of separateness and the longing to come back to the oneness, to the belonging, and become one again. So that's into the radiance.
Into the silence I fell. In the infinite sea of love I dwell. All my pain and sorrows dispelled. In one crystal moment I dwell. Into the radiance I rise. Into wondrous beauty I fly. I joyfully watch the illusion passing by. In one wondrous moment I rise. In simple service I live. In humble gratitude I give. There is no if here, only is. In this endless moment I live. I saw the pain all around me, I cried. I saw that life is sweet, I sighed. But when I saw the one in the earth and sky, I died. I give in the sea of love where I dwell. Into the silence I fell. I felt the pain around me. I cried, oh please release me. The sea of love has filled me with the joy of ecstasy.
Now, you've mentioned you were ill for quite some time, 2 decades. How did you find a cure?
Well, for about 11 years, I just had all these incredibly bizarre symptoms which no one could pin down. And I went to MDs, specialists, and natural healers, and we probably saw 25 different people. And the symptoms were just too weird, because what gluten does is it destroys like part of your immune system and messes with your brain. And then genetically, there's pathways that the gluten works on. In my body, in my particular case, the gluten was messing with me mentally, and I started having panic attacks, anxiety, And what I later found out is depression. I mean, I didn't think of it that way because I didn't wasn't like, I'm horrible and I want to kill myself depression. It was just, I really don't have enough energy to deal with that. I just didn't have energy to deal with anything around me. Internally, I was fine. I knew who I am and wasn't like that. Finally, I went to see a friend of mine, Guru Sahai, who's a chiropractor, and he said, I can't really help you anymore. And I was losing a pound a day at this point. I was just on my way out of here. He said, but I had just heard of this place, and a few people have been there, and they sent me over there. And it was like one of the very few people in the entire world that was on to gluten early. And I went in there, and he said, yeah, you've got gluten sensitivity, and you and this and that. And I said, how do you know? Because we had just talked for like 30 minutes. He said, well, because I have it. And then that started me on the path of correct diet. The diet is the thing. And then it got me so far. And then the DNA stuff started coming out, which I just can't recommend enough for people. 23andme.com, probably heard of them by now. Get your genetics done if you can afford it, because there'll be things in there like you have a tendency toward heart attack, and then you'll know to fix your diet so you don't have a heart attack, or you might have a tendency toward this kind of cancer, and then you'll know to get checkups more regularly. It gives you a roadmap. And anyway, after we found that, I just improved by leaps and bounds because we could target exactly what I needed. Very grateful to my doctor, two doctors, Dr. Bernadette Saviano and Dr. Delcher. Could not meditate. I couldn't do yoga. If I tried to do yoga, I would start spinning like in a horror movie. And when I tried to meditate, it was like someone had put a trap door down over my third eye. Nothing. I'd get nothing. Very strange.
And how did you get Snatam Kaur involved with the album?
The album was originally supposed to be done with Niranjan Kaur. Niranjan Kaur and I sound like the Everly Brothers. We sound like brother and sister. Our voices just do this blending thing. But she started having her children, and various stuff happened, and it just never happened. So when it did happen, I said, oh, and I know that Snatam was very busy back then, and I didn't think she could do it. So anyway, this time I just said, you willing to be on here? And she said, oh, yeah, I'd love to. It'd be my honor. And we actually, Mahan Kulpa, the engineer, the producer, flew to her and did her parts at her house. So we just set it up where she would have no effort involved other than just singing. And it worked out really great. And I hope we can do that other song, which is a duet, Mountain of Smoke, the title. And Mountain of Smoke, it's a concept in Sikhism or Eastern philosophy in general. If you are the one, if there's no separation and there's no world here, it's all Maya, then sometimes you talk like, oh God, you are this, God, you are that, and you are my beloved. But really, if you go into the real self and the oneness, you talk as if you are God. And the lyrics of that song are talking like as if God is speaking. I am the peerless one. I am the fearless one. And the catch is, if you can become that, where you are speaking as if you are God, and you really are, you just don't know it, then it puts you in that same state of mind as if you are God speaking. So all of the lyrics sound like it's first person God speaking, but actually any person has the right to become that position of I am that one, I am the one, I am the only. And that song came out like that. And it's just gorgeous with her and me, and just love that song.
I am the ecstasy, I am the harmony, I am. of smoke. Remember, remember the one, oh my soul. The light and the dark are two sides of the same. Oh, my mind, meditate forever on Lord's name.
I am in every breath. I am beyond death. I am. I
And a song that you're proud of is the Song of Khalsa, which isn't on this album, but it is available from your website.
Yes, Song of the Khalsa. Again, I had to, because I always have the same problem everybody does, is thinking I'm little old me, and I go through periods of putting boundaries on myself and putting boundaries on what I do. Song of the Khalsa is an awesome story. It's basically about courage. It's because I was wrestling with fearlessness, courage. In Sikhism, there's a lot of stories of Sikhs being tortured and just keeping going. There's one story where a man started reciting one of our prayers, and they started sawing him in half from the head down, like with a big saw like you use on a log. And he kept reciting it, and he kept reciting it as they sawed through his body. And this was recorded by the Mughal emperors who were doing it at the time in India. It was recorded by them. It wasn't like one of the, urban legend things. It was actually recorded in their history. And he kept reciting it as even they had sawed down through his head. You'd normally be dead. You achieve these states of consciousness where you're so above and in control of your body that you can go through stuff like that, and it's just whatever, nothing, okay. And so I actually saw a movie, and the movie had this scene in there, and the whole movie was actually like that. And the guy was fearless, and I thought, I got it. I came home and I wanted to bottle it so I could give this concept, where I'd gotten this concept, to other people, to be fearless. And Khalsa, by the way, means pure one. A lot of us have Khalsa as our last name, and it's not from the snooty version like I'm pure and you're not. It's I am striving at all moments to be pure, meaning I want to be a pure channel for the infinite light. So I came home, I got my guitar, and I started writing the song, sitting in the main yoga room at the ashram. And I got 4 verses and the chorus, and I was thinking, oh man, this is great. I got this done, it's finished. So I put the guitar down and I walk upstairs and I was going to lay down and rest for a while. And so I'm walking in the bedroom door, and right in the doorway, right in the frame of the door, I feel a physical knock on my head, like you knock on a door and somebody's knocking on my head. And to understand this next conversation, you have to kind of understand in those earlier days we were doing a lot of yoga, and we just dealing with non-human entities was kind of normal. Like I would be meditating in the morning and look over and see someone meditating next to me, and there weren't any humans there, but there was a full person sitting meditating next to me. So instead of being like, oh, God is speaking to me or something, when they knocked on my head, I was kind of peeved, and I was like, what? And this voice says, it isn't finished. So I start arguing with this non-human whatever. Yes, it's finished. No, it's not finished. I said, it has 4 verses. Like, that's what matters, how many verses. That just cracks me up. And it says, finish it. And I said, yeah, it says everything I want to say. It's not finished. So I, like a little kid, I hang my head, I'm like, okay, I'll go finish it. And I go back down, I pick the guitar up, and this verse is just there in my mouth, comes right out. I didn't think about it, I didn't, nothing. And it just kind of amazed me. And then I was like, wow, that's really cool. So went back upstairs, stood in the doorway to make sure, looked around, no knock, and that was the song. And then later, Yogi Bhajan made it a song that everyone should sing in our spiritual Gurdwara, it's called. It's our, church, going to church or synagogue. We call it Gurdwara, which means gate of the Guru. So it's sung in the Gurdwaras, and it's sung all over the world, and people love it and get a lot of inspiration. So over the years, I've always wondered who that was and what that was and who was knocking, because that never happened to me before or after on any song. That was a very specific event. Years later, this lady said, well, everything's in the Akashic record already. And the Akashic record, for those who don't know, it's like a cloud of data, and it's everything that has ever happened or is ever going to happen is already in the Akashic record. So this lady said, I love that song, but the first time I ever sang it, I already knew it. And this light went off in my head. I'm like, oh, the song was already in the Akashic record, which all of them are. And I was supposed to be the one to bring it out into the world, and I screwed up. I just had this picture like the librarian or whoever's in charge is like, he's screwing up. He didn't get the fifth verse. So what do we do? What do we do? Well, I don't know what to do. If he goes to sleep, he'll probably lose it. So let's knock on his head and break the rules and talk to him directly and tell him he has to finish it. It's just a great experience in my mind. And it was already there. I was chosen to be the one to bring it out, and I almost screwed it up. Yeah, people can hear that on my livtar.net, my website.
And we're spelling Livtar, Livtar.
Correct.
And what does Livtar mean?
Livtar means constantly in love with the one. The state of, you don't have to think about it, you're there and you're just in love with the one. And all of our names, Snatam and all these names that we take, they are aspirational. So you get the name so that you can live up to it. Again, not that you're there already. Every time you hear your name, it reminds you that's where you're supposed to be.
Right. Well, thank you for your time today. And what would be the track you'd like to leave our listeners with today from Mountain of Smoke?
Let's do Longing for Home. And Longing for Home was part of the entire system of longing to be back to the one. And one day I just had this feeling like, God, I'm so tired of these incarnations and going through this over and over and over. And this concept of it just came like a soul just comes out and starts on this long road and travels through all the incarnations and goes through all the tests and all the hassles and always ends up back at the one. And this song is really good. If you're ever in a room with someone who's going to die, like, they've got a disease and they're going to die and you're just hanging out with them, or try this song. It'll blow your mind how relevant it is, how it takes away the part of death that, oh, it's bad and we're sad and that whole thing. And it's this beautiful completion of the journey home to the one.
I left a long time ago to wander a long, lonely road, and now I am longing for home in my love, my love. On this long road back to you, and all of the tests we passed through, I only had to stay true to my love, my love. The path before me is bright. I return as day follows night, longing just for a sight of my love. The name of God is my song. To this whole universe I belong. Into the light I am gone with my love, my love. I passed through so many lives, and the lessons that cut me like knives. But I knew at the end was a light. My love, my love, the one is as vast as the sea, to a small drop of rain like me. My only prayer is to be with my love, my love. The path before me is bright. I return as day follows night, longing just for a sight of my love. The name of God is my song. To the whole universe I belong. Into the light I am gone with my love, my love. The circle of life is for pain, so the one can feel the rain. In the end, all that remains is my love, my love. The last few miles to the water, to a thirsting man seem forever. But soon I will merge in the river with my love, my love. The path before me is bright. I return as day follows night, longing just for a sight of my love. The name of God is my song. To this whole universe I belong. Remember me when I am gone to my love, my love. I left a long time ago to walk on the road of the soul. This road has brought me to home in my love, my love, my love, my love.
Well, thank you so much, Livtar.
Thank you, Phil, and you do a great service. I really want to thank you for all you do, and I hope we get to meet sometime.